Let me share some experiences of my past with you. A few years ago, while living in the so-called startup nation, I took the leap to start my own business. And during these exciting times, I started to work with a very promising startup that had developed a groundbreaking software based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. This innovative tool could automatically recognize, understand, and analyze any video content down to the last detail. They brought me on board to help them roll out their product to the European market. And while all the techies in the startup were great football fans, they wanted to focus on finding a compelling use case for professional sports. They wanted to connect to the big players like FIFA, UEFA, and the Champions League. But what really blew me away was just how fast they were progressing with their product. Week after week, they rolled out new features in their software that seemed completely impossible just a few days before. I was curious about their process, so I asked them if I can join some of their product development meetings, and luckily, they agreed. What I experienced in those meetings was just amazing. Any idea, no matter how out there, was taken absolutely seriously. Any spontaneous reaction to any proposal was something like, "That would be really great. That would push us forward. What would it take to make this work?" They were eager to experiment and to explore and then to code it, and while some of their ideas hit the mark, while others didn't, there was never any hint of skepticism or negativity. Even when there were very good reasons to question the one or other idea, the team was always focusing on the potential and the chances of an idea rather than its limitations. They had created a beautiful culture of positivity and excitement about their own ideas and of an innovative mindset, so that I was not surprised that 2 years later, they got acquired by a very well-known market research company. And they didn't only want to acquire their technology and the product, but also and especially their entire staff, because they also wanted to get their mindset. Now, in contrast, have you ever heard something like this? "Well, that's an idea, but wouldn't that be very expensive? And I don't think we have the budget for this at the moment." Or, "Well, that sounds like a fair idea, but it's not really on our agenda at the moment, and we have to first do this and that, and I don't think we have the time and the resources for this now." So, how many of you have ever heard something like this in a meeting? Yeah, sounds familiar. I guess so. You know how I call those persons? I call them Mr. Smart. You know why smart? Because they always have a long list of very smart reasons why something cannot work. You know the one who always comes up with a long list of objections. It's either not the right time, or they suggest that you go and find some budget first. Conversations about new ideas and necessary innovations in our corporate world, especially with many Mr. Smart around, they too often feel like they are just to tick a box. They serve as an alibi rather than really trying to explore new solutions. In our corporate world, too many ideas, processes, and especially corporate structures, they're coming from top down and then leaving very little room for modifications and really fresh perspectives. One result of this, in the last 50 years, only one of the 10 biggest companies in Germany has emerged. That means only one of the 10 biggest companies in Germany today is younger than 50 years. In contrast, 7 of the 10 biggest companies in the United States are younger than 50 years. And why is that? Because Germany is really great at incremental innovation. That means to make existing things better, step by step. But somehow we struggle to find completely new or even disruptive ideas. And this limitation is also a direct consequence of a missing culture of innovation. Now I was curious and I got inspired what I saw in the startup world abroad. So I wanted to dig deeper into understanding why innovative cultures are thriving apparently better in places like the startup nation or in the United States. So I did several trips and participated in several programs in hotspots like the Silicon Valley, Stanford University, and in Harvard Business School, in order to understand firsthand myself how great ideas are actually developed. And what I found out was really eye-opening to me. Creating an innovative culture is not just a buzzword. It's a set of real practices and firm beliefs that can drive change. I discovered 3 key elements, 3 layers that form the backbone of any innovative culture. Now, first, how do we treat each other? Now, this is the part where we can all start making a difference, and to be honest, it's the most easy part of creating an organizational culture. So how do we treat each other? Are we nice to each other? Are we supporting each other? But are we also honest when it gets a little bit more complicated and feels uncomfortable? Let's get real. A company is not a family. I know. There are many organizations and companies out there who love to throw around the term, we have a familial atmosphere. But family is about unconditional love and about protection and acceptance, no matter what. While a workplace should center rather around finding a mutual purpose and a mutual target. Think about it rather like a professional sports team, where everyone plays their role, but also needs to be able to rely on the teammates to do their job. Yes, it's definitely about motivating and supporting each other, but it's also about the necessary openness and honesty when things do not work out as they should. Now, that is called professionalism. Now, second, how do we do the things we do? Well, that sounds like a simple question, right? But here it gets already a little bit more complex. It's really about the heart of our operating model and of our purpose. Are we approaching everything we do with care and with an eye and love for every detail and with genuine passion? Let me share some experiences of my time at Harvard Business School. You might argue that at its core, it was just another executive education program, and there are plenty out there. But here's the catch. Besides paying a substantial admission fee, applicants had to go through an application process which consisted of writing an essay and getting personal recommendations. The program was oversubscribed several times, meaning even if you were ready to pay, admission was not guaranteed. But what Harvard did really brilliant was to make every participant and applicant to feel special right from the start. Every email leading up to the program, the check-in at the student housing, the quality of the materials provided, and even the beautifully designed certificate and the handover ceremony, everything was beautifully curated. And the very first words of the professor of the program, on the first morning when we were all sitting together in the classroom for the first time, she said, "Welcome to Harvard. Congratulations, you made it." Now that alone created excitement for everyone in the room. And don't get me wrong, the content of the program was outstanding. But what really set it apart was the how of the experience. Every touch point was beautifully curated. Now, that is also what a strong culture can do. It ensures that everyone feels valued and special. And now imagine if we in our organization and companies, if we would give so much love and care to every detail of the things we do every day. Now third, and by far the most important aspect when creating a culture that truly fosters innovation, it's about leadership. Culture is created on the top, and leadership is first when it comes to create an organizational culture. Because it is solely the leadership which decides which behaviors are rewarded and which ones are pushed aside. Those decisions will make or break any organizational culture. And therefore, it's vital that every leader today has a clear vision of what kind of behavior they want to see in their organizations. And then these behaviors must be rewarded. On the other hand, when there are behaviors that hinder or block innovation, like what Mr. Smart is doing all the time, they must be addressed, whether that means to sanction them or to just let them fade away. So think about what kind of behaviors you want to encourage in your organizations in order to drive innovations. You want people to feel comfortable to speak up with new and fresh ideas, even if they are challenging the status quo? If so, then these behaviors must be rewarded whenever you see them in your organization. And then don't let anyone, especially not Mr. Smart, who always has a long list of reasons why something cannot work, to kill the vibe in your team. Instead, flip the script. Ask Mr. Smart in front of everyone what he actually likes about an idea that was just presented. Challenge him to find 2 or 3 reasons why a project presented could actually succeed. And you will see it will work. Because next time around, Mr. Smart will rather think about what could work about a project or an idea before bringing up all his objections. Because one thing is clear. If you let Mr. Smart always have the last word and win to kill ideas and projects with his objections, you will nourish a culture in your organization that will eventually kill all innovation. Now, you want fresh ideas from everyone in your organization and not only the usual ones. So maybe make it a point to let the younger ones in your group talk first in meetings. Usually it's about us leaders to talk first and share our ideas and our perspectives, or we let the designated expert in our group talk first. But this can really intimidate and bias the younger professionals. So by having them to share their ideas first, it can really encourage them to jump into the conversation. But if they do speak up, and if they challenge an idea, or if they want to develop it or iterate it, then really carefully watch how you respond. Because too many leaders immediately slip into a defense mode, trying to justify their stance in order to save face. But why not just to stay cool then, and say something like, "That's a great point. Let's dig into this. Thank you." Remember, as a leader, people are always watching you, how you act, but especially how you react to behaviors. People will pick up on your cues and adapt their own behavior according to what they believe is really valued in your organization. Now, whether that means to speak up with new and fresh ideas, or to better be quiet and agree to everything that is being said. Now you want people to be proactive and take over responsibility in your organization, even beyond their own silo and beyond their job profile and beyond their job description in their working contract. If someone comes up with a new idea or a project or an initiative, very strongly consider to have this very person to lead the project or implement the idea. This is, by the way, how innovative and successful companies like Amazon handle innovation. And there's a very good reason for that. Because there's no quicker way to kill an idea or a project by taking it from someone and handing it off to someone else. If you take away the project or an idea from the person who conceived it, you will most likely discourage theirs and everyone else's passion and motivation to come up with new ideas in the future. Because why should they? Where's the reward? Where's the incentive? Sounds pretty obvious, doesn't it? Now you want your team to focus on the best possible solution for a problem in your organization or for your product, rather than worrying already in the beginning who will get the credit in the end. Then it's vital that you create a culture that truly values collaboration over recognition. Look out for the true driving forces in your organization. those people who really want to make a change and who do not seek the spotlight, but who are more than happy to let others shine. But then make sure to reward and appreciate those persons with recognition and also a fair compensation. You know who's a great example for this in my world, the world of football? It's actually Toni Kroos. You know, in his time in Real Madrid, it was mainly Cristiano Ronaldo who took the limelight for the team's success. But most of the time, it was Toni Kroos who was the engine fueling their play. But Toni Kroos, he didn't care too much about the public credit. He was driven by the appreciation of his managers, of his team, of his club, Real Madrid, and by a very fair paycheck. I mean, a really fair paycheck. So by fostering a culture that truly values the contribution over the credit, you will encourage more of this vital teamwork that you will need in your organization. Because remember one thing, innovation is a team sport. So after all, think about the culture in your organization as the oxygen in the room. Without it, it will be very hard. But the more and the fresher and the better you have, the better will be the thoughts and ideas coming out of your organization. And when creating the culture that you truly want for your organization, let's not overcomplicate things in the end too much. Just remember how you teach your kids. It's actually not that far away. When you want them to do something smart, reward them when they're actually doing it. And you will see it will work. With the time being, they will learn and act accordingly. But when Mr. Smart wants to talk up again and speak up again and show up again and tell us why this and that cannot work and it's not the right time and we don't have the budget at the moment, why don't you just tell him, how about a little silence for a real change?